What does LeBron have left? It's the main question now in so many different ways. Like, if you want to go really big picture, you could ask, how much time does LeBron have left when we still think of him as the league's best player? Could that be over as soon as this month if he is sitting at home and, say, Kevin Durant and Steph Curry win another title? Maybe, maybe not. Or what about this? How much does LeBron have left in Cleveland? As you will hear over and over and over the next 36 hours, tomorrow night could be LeBron's last ever game in a Cavs uniform. It's funny, when he first returned 4 years ago, he told me he couldn't see himself ever leaving again. But that was before he won the city its first major pro sports title in more than 50 years, releasing him of any of that karmic debt he might have carried from the way he left town the first time. And that was before the roster around him was stripped for parts. At this point, feels like fans would be more surprised if he stays in Cleveland this summer than if he leaves. And of course, there is the most basic version of the question, the one that will affect this Eastern Conference Finals. How much does LeBron have left before his gas tank runs empty? That he is tired is inarguable to anyone who watched last night's Game 5, and that is not to take anything away from the Celtics, who were gritty and connected and playing excellent defense. And that's not to let the rest of the Cavs starters off the hook either. But let's be real. Boston won the game despite shooting just 36% from the floor. 36%. If on the other side, LeBron had been able to pull out his superhero cape one more time, drop yet another 40-point performance, the game and the series would have been Cleveland's for the taking. Instead, we got a lot of Clark Kent, a respectable line of 26, 10, and 5, but also a number of missed layups, turnovers, the need to take extra time on the bench to rest. Tomorrow is going to mark LeBron's 99th game of a season in which he led the NBA in minutes. And now that this series against Boston is shifted to every other day, you can see the wear and tear. He's also acknowledged he just isn't sleeping very well. And it's ironic, actually. We've marveled several times this postseason at LeBron's near photographic memory. Unfortunately, the problem with remembering everything is that you remember everything. And that will keep you up at night, turning things over and over in your brain. And none of that is an excuse. Playing a 7-game series is supposed to be grueling. Who withstands it is supposed to be part of the test of it all. So how much does LeBron have left? We will get an answer to all versions of that question soon enough. So, Stephen, all year you have told me you will never bet against the king, or the coat, as you put it, right? The king and the goat. But at this point, with these circumstances, are you still betting on LeBron?
I still won't go against him. I still feel like he might have one of those big games in him, and I would never go against LeBron in the Game 7. So I know the Boston still they're sitting at home thinking we got to get this next one in Cleveland because we don't want to experience a Game 7 and have LeBron be the coach that night. But like I said, I'll never go against him, Rach. He's proved me wrong so many times. With the experience he has and as great as he is, I think he can overcome, these young guys. Even though they're playing great, I love these young guys, but I'm just high on LeBron.
I don't even know what to think about the Cavs anymore. They could lose by 30, they could win by 30. I have no idea what's happening. What would happen if these teams played in Pittsburgh?
Right.
Would it be 0-0 and no one would ever make? I don't understand what's happening in this series.
I mean, look, the role players play better at home model could not be more true. And you see it, right? You see when, one guy makes a mistake and either nothing happens because the home team's, pricking him up, or a wall of sound comes down on him because he's playing on the road. You see these guys get rallied up by the dunks, and then that doesn't happen in the other building. But the LeBron issue, to me, he was tired last night. And again, it's not an excuse. You're supposed to not be tired at this point of the postseason, and people are going to question whether maybe he shouldn't have played all 82 games. And he will tell you, hey, I felt like I had to push through, especially after the trade deadline, prop up that team. But this is some of the result that you get when you're 33 in your 15th season. Maybe he's great. Maybe he's great tomorrow night, but it's hard to see him doing that twice in the next 4 days.
Yeah, it's hard, but one thing about it, he's one of those guys that realize, 2 wins and I'm back in the finals. 6 wins, I'm an NBA champion again. So he understands that. And I think he's not going to really worry about his team. He got to go out there and he got a job to do. If you think about it, Rach, the 2 teams that won games on the road in the Eastern Conference and West Conference Finals, they stars willed them. Game 1, Durant.
Yep.
Game 4, it's Chris Paul. They're stars. Boston don't have a star. Both of their stars on the injury list. So that's why I feel Huh?
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's
and
absolutely
and that's
amazing.
why I feel LeBron's star power, if he can get to a game 7, he'll get them out this series.
That's the weirdest outcome is like the one that everyone assumes if they get to game 7, Cleveland will win because they have LeBron.
Oh, I don't think so.
The weirdest outcome would be they win game 6 because the home team wins every game by 1,000
Right.
points, and then they lose games. I have no idea what's going to happen. But to your point, he should not have played all 82 games. That was silly.
I mean, again, I think you make these decisions during the season, and if he hadn't played all 82, would they have been a lower seed, and then would they have not ended up here in the first place?
Might not have made the playoffs.
Would that game 7 against Indiana have been in Indiana? And maybe things would
Fair.
have flipped there, and they would have been out the first round. I don't know. There's no way to replay it and find out. I know that he does all sorts of crazy cryogenic whatever, and maybe he will do some of that
He will.
in the next 24 hours, and
Vibranium.
we'll see him. That's right, the vibranium pop out, and we'll see him, drop another 40 in Friday night, and then maybe he will be amped up. And as you said, he does well in Game 7s. But I would think if they get to a Game 7, you'd have to go with the home team because that's what's happened in this series.
It's just no one can imagine it, though.
Right.
People have trouble imagining LeBron losing a Game 7 to a team that doesn't have Kyrie, doesn't have Hayward. For some reason, people can't conceptualize it.
And it don't matter where you are at game 7.
Right.
The pressure and the stakes are the same. Somebody can make a shot in game 1, they can't make a shot in game 7. So
Right.
you never know.
Right,
And
that's certainly true. I did say to Paul Pierce, though, I have seen LeBron lose a Game 7 in
Yes.
that building.
The
Long
truth.
time ago.
But that was a long time ago, and as he noted, that team had Paul Pierce and
Yes,
Kevin
the
Garnett
truth.
and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo, which this team does not have. We will see. It is going to be fascinating.